I had always had a fear of hospitals, ever since I was a young child. The sterile smell, the haunting sounds of medical equipment, and the pale, lifeless faces of patients always sent shivers down my spine. But little did I know that my fear would turn into an unforgettable experience when I found myself in the creepiest hospital I had been. It all started with a simple drive to visit my grandmother, who was admitted to the hospital. It was already getting dark outside, and the surrounding area was quiet, with only the sound of my car's engine to break the silence. As I approached the hospital, I couldn't feel but a sense of dread washed over me. The building, with its towering walls and a small window, looking more like a fortress than a place of healing. I parked my car in the empty parking lot and made my way towards the entrance. The sliding doors opened with a slight creak, and I was hit with a blast of cold, sterile air. The reception desk was unmanned, and the waiting area was eerily quiet. I hesitantly walked towards the elevators, and my footsteps echoing loudly in the empty hallway. When I reached my grandmother's room on the 4th floor, I was greeted with a strange sight. The room was completely dark, except for all silver of light coming from the bathroom. I called out to see if anyone was there, but there was no response. I cautiously made my way towards the bathroom and pushed the door open. To my relief, there was my grandmother, sitting on the edge of the bathtub, staring into the mirror. She didn't acknowledge my presence, her eyes fixed on her reflection. I slowly approached her and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Grandma, it's me." Her head turned slowly towards me, and I gasped what I saw. Her once vibrant blue eyes were now black, completely devoid of life. Her skin was pale and her lips crackled and dry. She started to speak in a monotone voice, her words sending shivers down my spine. "They're watching us. They're always watching." I quickly called for a nurse, but when she arrived, my grandmother's eyes had returned to their normal color, and she had no recollection of her previous behavior. As I left the room, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was not right about this hospital. The next day, I decided to do some investigating on my own. I searched online for reviews of the hospital and was surprised to find that there were hardly any. The few reviews that I did find were all negative, with some mentioning strange occurrences and unexplained disappearances. I also found out that the hospital was known for its experimental treatments and that many patients had died under mysterious circumstances. Determined to uncover the truth, I snuck into the restricted areas of the hospital. The hallways were eerily quiet, with the only sound of my footsteps echoing through the building. I was about to turn back when I heard a faint voice coming from one of the rooms. I cautiously made my way towards the source of the sound. What I saw, it was something straight out of a horror movie. In a dimly lit room, there were rows of patients lying in the hospital beds, all hooked up to machines and IVs. But they were not normal patients. Their eyes were black and their mouths hung open, emitting a low, guttural moan. And standing in front of them was a group of doctors, the white coats splattered with blood. Before I could react, one of the doctors noticed me and ordered the others to capture me. I ran for my life, my heart racing as I tried to escape the clutches of the doctors. I found myself in a dark, maze-like corridor, with no idea how to get out. As I frantically searched for an exit, I heard the sound of my own name being called out. I turned to see my grandmother. Her eyes, now black with their lifeless state, beckoned me towards her. In a trance-like state, I followed her voice and found myself in a secluded room. My grandmother sat on a bed, surrounded by machines and monitors. She gestured for me to come closer in a barely audible voice. She revealed the truth of hospital. This place is not what it seems. The doctors here are not human. They conduct experiments on the patients, stealing their life force to sustain their own existence. I was horrified by her words, but before I could process them, she grabbed my hand and placed it on her chest. I could feel her heartbeat, slow and weak, as if it was drained of life. They're coming for me, but you must stop them. You're the only one who can set us free. With those final words, my grandmother took her last breath and her body went completely still. Filled with grief and rage, I made my way to the restricted area to confront the doctors. I found them huddled around my grandmother's lifeless body, absorbed with some kind of ritual. Without thinking, I lunged at them, determined to stop their evil deeds. The ensuing chaos was like a scene from a nightmare. The doctors, with their inhuman strength, fought back with ferocity. But I was determined to put an end to their madness. In the end, I managed to destroy the machines and release the patients from the grip. I escaped the hospital, leaving behind a trail of chaos and destruction. As I sat in my car, trying to process the events that just occurred, I couldn't help but feel relieved that it was all over. But all the same time, I couldn't shake off the feeling that there were more hospitals like this one out there, hiding in plain sight, conducting their horrific experiments. From that day on, I made it my mission to uncover and expose these institutions in hopes of saving innocent lives from the clutches of these inhuman beings. And every time I passed by an hospital, I couldn't help but feel a shiver down my spine, a reminder of the horrors that lurk behind the sterile walls.